Well, hey, Tatooine Sons family, this is David. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We've got one more segment from my conversation with Lucas from The Reverend and the Reprobate and Pete from Streaming Star Wars. And it's all about Star Wars canon. It's, the Bad Batch is sort of sandwiched in between a lot of official Star Wars content, the official canon now since Disney took over in 2012. And I think that it seems to limit what they can do with some of the stories, and especially legacy characters that exist in that timeline. So I asked Lucas and Pete if they think that canon hurts the Bad Batch.
That's
right. All right, one more base question. All right, and you guys got to, even if you feel like you need to stretch the truth and make something up here, then go for it. But what's the most embarrassing moment that you've had playing the bass? I'm going to start with you, Lucas.
Oh, I know this one hands down. There used to be
you were playing with John Denver. No, we'll talk about that later.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, there's a moment I was playing on stage, and one of the things that we did, we would at one point we'd play this song. There was a bridge where the bass kind of dropped out. I would put my bass on the stand, run, and jump into the crowd and crowd surf. It was awesome. We were having a particularly good show. We had a lot of people show up. I was really stoked. And at the time, I was much more athletic than my current chubby figure would maybe give people the idea that could be happened. So I run and I jump and I look at the guys that are supposed to catch me, like my 5 dudes that we comped into the show to catch me. And I'm looking down. And they, like, I just see them look like this, and I just fly right over them into this group of girls who just scream a body and move out of the way. And so I'm probably, and we're on an elevated stage, so we're a couple of feet above everybody, and I don't know how far out into the crowd I actually got, but as I turn, I land and I smack the back of my head on the concrete floor of the club that we're playing. Those guys come grab me, throw me back up on stage. I'm not bleeding or anything, but my mom was there. One of my aunts, a couple of ladies that were like other parents, from the other guys in the band, because this was a big show for us. So as soon as we get done playing, we're high-fiving, we had this great time, and this just gaggle of moms grabs me and sits me down side stage when I should be celebrating and selling stuff at the merch table and all that stuff. No, they sit me down and the moms are like, "Baby, are you okay?" And they've got flashlights trying to check and see if I've got a concussion, and they're trying to give me Gatorade, and in what should have been this moment of triumph, I'm getting treated like a kid that tripped in the U5 soccer game.
That's
so
funny. That's awesome. So a follow-up question.
That was it. Yeah.
Is there video?
I don't know. If I could find video, I would produce it.
We need to find video.
Yeah.
All right, Pete, go for it, buddy. Most embarrassing moment you've had playing bass.
Nothing quite like that at all. But I guess the closest,
which is good. You realize
that's
good.
There's no physical injuries from playing bass. The closest would be we were playing a pretty decent sized gig. I used to have 2 bass on stage because we would have different tuning for different songs, and I was playing and I was like, "This sounds horrible. We're out of tune. I don't know what's going on," and I'm getting really irritated with the guitar player. I'm like, "He's playing this song wrong. We've practiced it 1,000 times," and I'm like I'm trying to not be a jerk on stage, and then it ends, and I realize that I didn't switch basses, and so I was the one playing completely out of tune the entire song.
Oh no,
that's pretty embarrassing if you're a bassist.
Yeah. I'll never. I mean, one of my favorite guitar players that I played with used to tell me, he's like, "It's a mistake when the guitar player makes it, you hear it, but when the bass player makes a mistake, you feel it." And I was like, "Yeah, it's true."
So the real question is, were you the proper interval away on if you were a half step down?
I was a half step off the entire song.
Well, perfect. So you didn't play it.
You probably played it perfect.
No, I probably played the right.
You didn't really make any mistakes. You just made it jazz.
That's right. It was a jazz version of a Lynyrd Skynyrd song, probably.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
That's perfect.
That's awesome. All right, one more Bad Batch question, and then we'll let you guys get on with your lives. Unlike any series before it, it feels to me like the Bad Batch is fighting kind of with one leg standing on one leg with one arm tied behind its back. It's you got on one side, you've got the prequels and you've got the Clone Wars series and all the established canon that's associated with that. And then on the other side, you've got Obi-Wan Kenobi and you've got Solo and you've got Star Wars Rebels and you've got the original trilogy and all the canon that's there. And that kind of makes the playing field for the Bad Batch much smaller. So Lucas, do you feel like that limited space and all of that established canon on both sides hurts the Bad Batch when it comes to the stories that it tells?
No, because I think the Bad Batch is telling a story about the clones. And right now, from like a Star Wars canon standpoint, we don't know as much about the clones as we did 15 years ago. Because 15 years ago in what is now the Legends universe, there was a lot of stuff about the clones. They told us how things happened. We knew exactly how everything went down. And now we don't anymore. And again, like with this era, we do have some really cool things that are kind of happening on either side of it, but we don't have a story that's focused on what for many of us were the real heroes of the Clone Wars, which is the clones themselves. I mean, up until Order 66, I can't think of, more so than a lot of the Jedi. Like I miss Rex and Fives and those guys, right? So, no, I think they're telling the story that a lot of us want and need in order for the rest of all of this to make sense. So that's kind of my thoughts on it.
What about you, Pete? What do you think?
It's tough because we go back to season 1, episode 1. There was just a canon adjustment for people around Canon,
right.
And so I think it's actually probably a bigger challenge for the entire series, the entire content landscape. That there is so much stuff going on, and I don't feel like they're playing in a place right now where they're in a spot to damage canon. Much as Lucas was just saying, I think we're growing these characters. I think we're in a spot to bring some canon back. I think that some of the EU stuff is going to come to life here more so than anywhere else. I mean, we saw Mount Tantus at the end of season 1. I find it very interesting that David, you and I have many friends that received the preview or the screener versions of the show. They only got the first 14 episodes, so something big happened in the last 2. Right. So there's definitely connections. So I think I think they're doing a good job of managing it, but I think longer term, as more and more stories come in, which is why the EU was such a mess, right? Because there was literally hundreds of books, and it was very difficult to keep up with it. But no, I think if anything, it's building canon that will be leveraged in the future.
That's cool. Okay, follow-up question, and we'll end it then. Start with you, Pete, and then Lucas, you can tie it off. Something from EU or Legends that you would like to see brought in through the Bad Batch?
I don't know. I would like to see some version of Joris Sabaoth. I never don't even know. Some version, not the version we got. Sabaoth.
Yeah.
Sibo, whatever.
Right.
I would like to see some version. I don't want the version from the EU, but I want to see some sort of variation on his character.
That's cool. What about you, Lucas?
I want Dash Rendar. That's what I want. More than anything. I want to see
outlaw everything. Yes, right?
I want to see a young, scrappy smuggler. That is somehow.
That's pretty I could see that both of those happening,
right?
Yeah. But the Dash Rendar one feels more so.
It would make sense because he's kind of working in that same world as the mercenaries, and I want to see that dude who we know so little about, but became one of my favorite childhood characters thanks to the Nintendo 64.
Yeah. I think there's a good chance we get him in the Mandoverse, and how great would it be to see a live action Outlander? I would lose my mind.
That's what it is, Outlander. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, everyone who knows this show knows how much we are a fan of things that are officially Star Wars canon. I know that was terrible and it was cheesy and I shouldn't have done it, but anyway. while the expanded universe, now Legends timeline, has some absolutely crazy stuff in it, there are some really fun and interesting characters in it that would be really cool to see become a part of the official Star Wars canon. So I'm curious what characters you'd like to see make that leap from Legends to canon. Let us know at Tatooine Sons on social medias or on Twitter, and you can comment on this video if you're watching this on YouTube or on Facebook Watch. We'd love to hear your thoughts and talk a little bit about that with you. And thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Tatooine Sons. Again, small part of this conversation. If you missed the previous segments in this, you can go back on this channel or on our podcast app and listen to those episodes, watch those. We'd love for you to tune into that. And then make sure while you're doing it that you go into the comments or the show notes and link in to find Pete on Streaming Star Wars and Lucas at The Reverend and the Reprobate. Follow them on all of their channels and social medias. And then right after that, you can follow us if you aren't already. Tatooine Sons, SONS. We'd love to have you be a part of the Tatooine Sons family if you aren't already. And as we always say, may the Force be with you.